fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. Make a pick and roll with it. Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Welcome into another live edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break on this lovely August Thursday. I'm pumped to be joined by professional handicapper Wes Reynolds for the second day in a row. Wes, yesterday we had one game, one opportunity to keep the channel's hot streak going, and guess what hit last night?
The Dallas Wings hit last night. Good call by you. I actually did have a winning bet. Unfortunately, didn't give it on the show. Playing
Well, let's
Cameron
hear it.
Brink.
Okay.
It was Cameron Brink on her over points, rebounds, which she got there. And look, a big win for the Sparks, but good call by you. That we thought that line might be inflated, and it certainly was. Kelsey Plum dribbled around, found a little spot in the defense in the mid range, and hit the J at the buzzer to get the win for the Sparks, but the cover by the Dallas Wings. And one thing that we do got to clean up from yesterday's show, where we talked about WNBA Rookie of the Year, and we thought it was over anyway, even though maybe it shouldn't have been. It's over now. It's over now. So 44 points, by the way, from Paige, all-time rookie record in a single game. I don't think, as I was watching the game in the second half, I don't think she hit the rim on any of her shots in the fourth quarter. It was nothing but net, just a terrific shooting night from Paige Beckers. And Rookie of the Year. That's over. I don't think, if any book has left a price up, I think that's getting taken down expeditiously. So Paige, just a hell of a performance. But the bottom line, the Sparks do get the win over the Dallas Wings. So, you're seeing some of these teams and you wonder, the ones that are eliminated from the playoffs, and Dallas, by the way, now officially eliminated with that loss. Are these teams still going to try late in the season? And that's what you're eyeballing here.
It really does depend. Do they have Paige Beckers? I feel like that's the follow-up.
Right, because they've been doing a little, I don't know if I want to call it load management, but there have been some games where she sat out. And, we'll see, like on Friday, by the way, they play the Storm. Storm, by the way, about a 6.5, 7-point favorite on the Friday slate. So we'll see if she sits out here because Dallas, long-term, this is a rebuild, obviously, for this franchise. But, we've got a couple teams now, Connecticut, Chicago, and Dallas, officially eliminated, and they've been long eliminated. They've been the worst three teams all year, but certainly an exciting game last night and a win the Sparks had to have, and they did get.
100%. And like we were talking about yesterday, so we can dive into the Cam Brink bet too. I mean, we were kind of lobbying for her to get more minutes. Now she finally got her season high with 19, and she's got 11 points and her season high 8 rebounds. So that was kind of a Cam Brink is back game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Sparks, I know that there's the minutes restriction in some games, but it's like, I think now's the time. She's got to get more minutes to me. Even if she's not the starter and Derek Hamby continues to be the starter, Cameron Brink, I think for her development, you can't be playing her like 12 to 15 minutes. She's got to play more. She is the substantially better defender. And Brink actually did have 18 last night, 11 points and 8 rebounds. So you got to play her more because I think she's the only piece of resistance basically at the rim for the LA Sparks, because Derek Hamby not necessarily providing that. Azure Stevens is kind of an inside out player where she's not necessarily, a pure post necessarily, even though she's listed as the center. So I'd like to see Brink get more minutes as the Sparks try to make their run into playoff contention.
Yeah, I feel like last night was probably the start of that. Then we also had Kelsey Plum. Of course, her villain arc is alive and well right now, or whatever
Yes.
you want to call it. But the buzzer beater to clock in those 20 points per
She was
game.
like, "Take that, Kazarian."
Yeah, it feels like a personal affront to Doug at this point.
It is, but she finds ways. She did not shoot the ball very well last night. 9 of 23, 1 of 9 from the three. But sometimes the volume's there, and she got
Yeah.
the game winner and ends up with her usual 20.
Yeah, she needed to kind of be there and I guess try everything she could. But I mean, it's kind of another down day for the defense with the Sparks, which also is worrying. But they don't have to worry about that right now. Just kind of game after game. And I'll say, Beckers, didn't she hit every three?
She did, as a matter of fact. Looking at the shooting percentages, 4 of 4 from three, 6 of 6 from the line, 17 of 21 in that 44-point performance. That wasn't quite enough for Dallas to get the win.
Yeah, all that and they lose. It's pretty shocking. But she, with her record setting night, set the stage for another potential record. She's one double figure scoring game away from joining Cynthia Cooper, Candace Parker, and Aja Wilson as the only players to record at least 10 points in each of their first 30 games. That's just, yeah, she's rookie of the year.
Yeah, no question about it.
And I know all day over my feeds and on my TV, everyone is doing the Paige Beckers versus Caitlin Clark thing. So everyone listening to this show is lucky because we have your perspective as somebody who has a front row seat to Caitlin Clark. What is your take on this whole debate?
Yeah, look, and inevitably that is going to happen. Caitlin Clark certainly has her fans and certainly has her critics. I don't think that that's necessarily a fair comparison. I think what Caitlin Clark did last year in her rookie campaign speaks for itself. And the value she obviously brings to the league from a television rating standpoint, from a revenue standpoint in terms of ticket sales. She is the biggest star in the league, I think, for the masses out there that observe anything about the WNBA. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think that's unfair not only to Caitlin, but also to Paige to do this comparison because they're kind of different players in different environments a little bit. Paige to me is not necessarily like a point guard where she has to handle the ball every single possession, and that's what you see Caitlin Clark has to do. And plus the injuries with Caitlin, so it's kind of low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
I think, to say, oh, this one's better than the other when the other has not played like 20 games this season. So yeah, that's kind of the mess that we get a little bit on WNBA Twitter and WNBA social media in general. Let's just appreciate two great young players and say, hey, they're bringing more eyeballs to the league. And that's why players are asking for more compensation. And that's why this media rights deal that's going to go into effect next year has so much money involved. So, like, this is a good time. Can we quit trying to ruin it with all the divisiveness?
100%. And I am so glad you said that. That's why we love your perspective here. And I feel like just because we know two WNBA players doesn't mean we have to compare them or that they are comparable. So I love that that conversation we can kind of derail. And maybe it's a cop out, but I'm thrilled to watch both of these players continue to usher in the best WNBA iteration we've ever had. Like these are exciting times, and I choose to be excited about every good player. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got some good players on the slate tonight for sure.
100%. And yesterday you were teasing a bet on tonight's four-game slate. So I cannot wait to hear all about that. And you guys can join us maybe with the $100 bonus bet that you could win on Bet Rivers today. Enter the social media exclusive giveaway on the Bet Rivers Instagram account for your chance to win a $100 bonus bet. Go to at Bet Rivers on Instagram and enter now to join in on all of the fun. So now let's take a look at each game on tonight's slate before we lock in our official best bets. We'll start with the team that you've deemed unbettable, the Sky. They take on the Liberty tonight with the odds exactly as lopsided as you'd expect. Did we get any news on Angel Reese's usage?
Well, I think she's still on a minutes rotation, and that's what I would be looking at here,
Mhm.
betting this game is trying to find perhaps to go under her props because of that minutes rotation. Line out to 15. Sky now officially eliminated from the playoffs. So you wonder, okay, is there really any reason for Tyler Marsh to kind of, you know, tax Angel Reese. You want to obviously play her, but to play her in the 30 to 35-minute range, and I don't know necessarily if that's the case. So I think I had under rebounds the other night. Might be, and I don't see the under available right
Yeah.
now at Bet Rivers, but if it becomes available, I'd be looking maybe at points rebounds under 25 and a half. I think that there still is that limited rotation, and you're seeing in the market, some people coming in on these unders here on the points rebounds and assists, and really across the board. But sometimes that gets tricky where it's like, you know, she went over the points the other night because a lot of the prop bettors came in on the under points, and she goes over the points, was very efficient offensively, but went well under the rebounds as well at 9.5. So, you know, if you don't have that option available to you on the under necessarily for Reese, well, it's like somebody might have to get it, and that could be Camila Cardoso at over 7.5 to play that over rebounds. But I like the Reese play better if it's available to you, better than necessarily the Cardoso play, who can kind of be a little bit up and down. But big point spread here at 15. Liberty, of course, still trying to continue this momentum and essentially lock in that 2 seed. Yeah, I thought maybe I'd be interested in the Sky, but it's gone up to 15 and a half. So I'm not going to with the Liberty, but not interested in the Sky. I think the way to play that is the Angel Reese under props, whatever you can get out there.
Yeah, I like that one. I like where your head's at on that. I was maybe mulling over under 163 with the total points, but you just never know in these kind of lopsided games where both teams are in interesting spots with the Sky eliminated and the Liberty. Yeah, they're fighting for a seed, but at the same time, I mean, it's not, it's a little more unpredictable than like when it's so lopsided. I like a player prop on a situation like this. So I'll think about the Angel Reese one too. I don't know if unders are available to me right now either, though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, we have seen this going up a little bit on the over, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna stay away from the
Yeah.
total.
Yeah, I think I am too. And we can move on to Lynx versus Dream. Yesterday, we thought this next one was going to be extremely difficult to bet on, but we got some huge news this afternoon that MVP frontrunner Nafisa Collier is set to return tonight. So, how does that impact your betting on this game at all?
It maybe leaves me to want to perhaps stay out of it because
Yeah.
I didn't really like the side anyway, and we've
Mhm.
seen a little bit of movement, of course, to Minnesota because you don't really know how many minutes Fee is going to play. They still
Mhm.
got the inside track on the number one, so it's like how much do you want to press her in her first game back, especially with the bench and the other starters. I think have really stepped up for this team, despite the loss the other night to the Liberty. So uh, it's always tricky when you get a star player, and wanting to attack it that way. How much this is going to affect things. Now, her being out there, I think, could maybe take away some rebounds from the Atlanta Dream. Maybe Brianna Jones under her rebound prop if that's available, but yeah, this is one that first game back because you want to see the minutes because I don't know how much of the volume is going to be there, so I'm staying away from this one.
Yeah, it's always tough. There's so much uncertainty when a player is coming back, especially a player that's a centerpiece of a team. And I get happy and excited, and I'm like, all right, what can I bet on here? Just because it's fun for the vibe sometimes. At the same time, she can't get hurt again before the playoffs, but she also is going to be so eager to solidify her case for MVP. I usually, as a general practice, kind of stay out of it on their first return back because that can be sheltered minutes or she's going to go off. Like, you don't know. You have to wait and see what they're going to put her into there.
Yeah, absolutely. So no play for me, but certainly a big game for Atlanta if they want to try to get in that two spot over the Liberty. Atlanta currently number three, so should be a fun game to watch, but not going to get any of my money involved.
The Dream have been creeping up and up, and it's one of those teams that you're just like, I wish I paid maybe a little more attention to them, but they're going to kind of make it interesting without you even noticing. I don't know, maybe that's just me not paying as much attention to them as I do to other teams, but at the same time, I mean, this could be, like you mentioned, a gigantic game for them.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So nothing doing for me on Minnesota Atlanta tonight.
Yeah, and for those interested, Bet Rivers has FISA over 16.5 points at minus 148 and goes up to over 18.5 at plus 107. I wish there were some unders. I might dabble in that if that becomes available, but if it's just overs, I'm definitely going to stay away from that. I think they're going to they want to win the championship more than anything this year. They've been told time and time again that they aren't good enough. They don't have that star, and I think they're focused on the postseason as opposed to anything else right now. So we can move
Yeah, yep.
moving on. We got Mercury versus the Aces, two hot playoff teams battling for a higher seed. Bet Rivers has the Mercury to win at minus 106 and the Aces at minus 118. The spread is one, and the total points line is 170.5. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, I do still like Phoenix, and I recommended that at 2 yesterday. It's 1 at
Mhm.
Bet Rivers. There's some 1.5 in the market. I like Phoenix in the spot here. I also like the over a little bit, and that was hit overnight. I did get a better number than what is currently available now, but I still think maybe there's a little bit of runway at 170.5. I played 168.5. I think these two teams, by the way, you scored a bunch at the end of the game last week where the Aces did get by the Mercury there. So in terms of player props, I was looking to see if there was really anything interested me. There might be actually, even though I like the over in the game, perhaps an interest in Aja Wilson under. If you can get it, especially as high as you can get it, maybe at 25.5. But I think what I'm going to do is play the game over, and then of course have the Mercury from yesterday. Phoenix, nice win in Golden State, and they put up a ton of points, by the way, on the Valks, and the Valks have been one of the better defensive teams in the league. And I think even though they want to play a little bit faster, they have been a team that I think relies a lot on defense. And it's like when you're a new team, try to be good on one side of the ball. And that's what the Valks by and large have been defensively. But the Mercury scored 98 on this team the other night, and then 85 against Seattle. Seattle, kind of a slower paced team. They're not exactly a run and gun type of team. And now I do think with the Mercury, now you have everybody back that's had a few games healthy. Now you've had Copper back for several games. You've had Sabali back for a couple games. You have Bonner playing a little bit more. We never saw this Bonner in Indiana, of course, for 9 games, but Bonner has been producing, and I think a lot of this bench that had to play early in the season for the Mercury, some of these like tertiary options like a Sammy Whitcomb or Katie Westbeld or a Koa Makani, the rookie. Now, even though their minutes have dropped, they can still give you a little bit of production, even though they're not playing the starters minutes necessarily anymore. So you've got a little bit of a deeper bench here. I still think the Mercury are deeper than the Aces, even though it's I think done very well for them to have Jewel Lloyd come off the bench for this team. But this is still, I think, not necessarily a deep Aces team. Where you're going to consistently get production. I think you got 7, 8 players that play. You have the starters that play heavy minutes. So I like Phoenix and the over in this one tonight.
Yeah, I like that. The more you talk about it, I was looking at some of the player props. I mean, AT over 18.5 rebounds and assists by player is minus 115. I think I'm going to look at that. I mean, she is entering historic territory here with her double doubles. So I don't see why she wouldn't continue. And you also mentioned Copper. I feel like just going off the vibes of somebody like Copper, this is one game. I'm not going to bet on her tonight, but I like her in the overall picture landscape of Phoenix right now. When you think about the games that she thrives in, it might be one of these big name games, like a close game against a team like the Aces, where they're battling neck and neck for playoff positioning, and there's storylines and everything there.
Yeah, and Phoenix, by the way, currently the 4 spot, 21-13. The Aces on that 8-game winning streak, by the way, at 22-14. So there's still a real battle here. There's only a half a game separating 2 through 5. Minnesota, you know, going to be that number one seed, more than likely with a 6-game lead. I mean, mathematically not officially clinched, but they're going to be the one seed, you would think, and especially with Nafis Collier returning tonight for the rest of the season. But New York, Atlanta, Phoenix, and Vegas separated by just a half a game. So there is a lot of jockeying for position here to try to get that home court advantage, at least in the first round, perhaps in the semifinals of the WNBA playoffs. So lot to play for both teams. And, it's tough to go against a streak, but that's what I'm going to do with Phoenix tonight.
You know what? I think it might be when the magic runs out and the Aces cool off a little bit here. I mean, you looked at the way they played against the Dream their last time out on Tuesday. They just won by 2 points, and it kind of feels like a nice place for them to stop going off so hard and maybe take a breather before the playoffs begin. I don't know. It's like, how long can Wilson be this MVP caliber player right now? It's tough. And how much do you want to conserve that before the playoffs? Now, it's like they needed to solidify themselves. All right, guys, we're still the Aces. And they proved that to themselves with an 8-game winning streak and this stretch of, what was it, 13 wins in 16 games. So it's just like, all right, we are who we are and we have our confidence back. Maybe we're going to chill for a second here before we get to beat the sky again in a few games.
Yeah, at 100%. So certainly the game of the night, I think, on the slate here in terms of how well the Aces have been playing, and then the short term payback where we saw Phoenix lose late on Friday night at home.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Phoenix has a kind of a statement to make here that they are going to make some noise. And I know Doug loves them as the championship favorite. So that's something to keep looking out for. If you're trying to get your like long-term ducks in a row with bets here, maybe you watch them against a good competitor tonight and see, all right, maybe I'll place a wager on them or avoid it when it comes to the playoffs, which are less than a month away. So that's exciting.
It is. Gosh, still a lot of jockeying to be done here over the
Yeah,
final 10 games.
yeah, 100%. And I kind of think it's the Lynx year, but they need to step up and prove that. And we will see when we see. I like the AT over there. So I think I will mull that over and give you my best bet at the end. We'll do best bets at the end, but we will still go over Mystics versus Sun. Mystics are the favorite at Bet Rivers at -132. The spread is a lovely 2, and the total points line is 158. How are we feeling about this one?
Ish.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I want to particularly go with this one as of yet. This is, of course, the short term payback, you would think, for Washington, which bad loss at home for the
Mhm.
Mystics, and now they find themselves 16-19, where they are now 1.5 out of the playoffs. Connecticut long eliminated, still the worst record in the league. Gut says Mystics get right here. But I think the market may be a little bit unconvinced. You've seen it go from 2 to 2.5, still a lot of twos out there as well. Because the Mystics, we wonder the mindset here. The fact that they're tanking, but they're not tanking. They're obviously looking forward, as we mentioned yesterday, to seasons to come
Mhm.
with this young core, with Sonia Citron, with Kiki Arifin, and with Georgia Moore, who has not played this year due to injury, and even adding JC Sheldon, who I believe only in her second year in the league. She was acquired for Aaliyah Edwards, who is now, of course, on the opposite bench with the Connecticut Sun here, where she played her college basketball in the Nutmeg State of Connecticut. Yeah, nothing, at least right now, for me. I was trying to find some things here, but this is it's a little bit tough too for a team that doesn't really lay points on the road very often. When you have that roll
Yes.
that a team is not used to, that spread roll, when like a team's been an underdog all the time, all the time, all the time, not that they were last game, but for the most part, you see Washington an underdog majority of the time. Now you got to
Mhm.
ask them to lay points on the road. If you made me, I would lean toward laying Washington on the road, or playing money line, but not necessarily for me. I think maybe that's already priced in, that these teams are eliminated, like the Connecticut's and the Dallases of the world, and the fact that maybe they want to look at young players, but I do think that they're still going to compete, and they've got enough veteran players on that team with Tina Charles and Marina Mabry. This is a dangerous spot, I think, to lay Washington on the road.
Yeah, I agree. And Albert always brings up a great point on this channel about how the upcoming CBA talks, ahead of those, there are so many veterans, especially on the Sun, that are entering needing to negotiate their own individual contracts, and like they're kind of auditioning for maybe more money. Everybody wants to make more money, and they're auditioning to maybe be on a better team. No offense to the Connecticut Sun, but that teams players are at the end of their contracts, especially veterans. So I'd see. I mean, Marina Mabrey is always going to put up a lot of threes. She might not make them, but she's going to put them up, and I think they're going to be competitive, and it's for pride, right? Like you're still an athlete at the end of the day. They're not going to roll over just because it makes sense, right? Especially against maybe in a winnable situation against the Mystics. It's a tough read on this one.
Yeah, yeah. So, I don't think I'm going to get involved. If you're uncertain as a better, sometimes the
Yeah.
best bets are the ones not made, and
Mhm.
I'm not going to make that necessarily here. So, nothing for me as of now on Washington and Connecticut.
That's exactly how I feel. Yesterday, I said, you know what? In my gut, I think that the Wings are going to cover this spread. And I just went for it. But I am not sensing any of that when it comes to the Mystics or the Sun. So we can avoid that one. And I think we both seem pretty bullish on Mercury Aces bets. So are you ready to lock your best bet of the day in?
Yeah, let's go. We'll go ahead and play Phoenix. Let me see what the current price is at Bet Rivers. I think it's +1. I just want to make sure I don't want to give out an inaccurate number. I played two, which unfortunately not available. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that instinct and go with the Phoenix Mercury plus the one at Bet Rivers, and also over 170.5. And I think you may have talked me into a prop here, because I'm looking, and I never want really all that much exposure on one game. I typically don't like to do that, because obviously if you're super exposed and you're wrong, then you're wrong on everything. So
Yes.
looking at this, and I'm just observing the line here. Let's go with Alyssa Thomas over 14 and a
Mhm.
half points. I think
Yeah.
and I believe that's like 120, 122-ish currently
Yep.
at Bet Rivers. So going over the 14 and a half with AT. I think this is one of those ones. And look, she is still trying to, I think, mount a campaign for MVP. I think the Visa Collier is going to win the award, but had that triple double streak. So this is one of those big games. And I
Mhm.
know that Phoenix is balanced and whatnot, but I got a feeling this might be one of those games where Alyssa Thomas is a little bit more aggressive offensively, because we know she can pile up the assists and she can also pile up the rebounds. But I think she's aggressive offensively here in this one, in a game that I think every game matters now for Phoenix. I think you're going to see that a little bit more. So Alyssa Thomas over 14 and a half minus 120.
It feels good to have a vote of confidence from you in that one, because that's where my head's at as well when it comes to her. I think she has a lot to prove, and she's not left out of this MVP conversation, but she's kind of third fiddle to Wilson and Collier right now. And now Collier's back, and she's probably looking like, oh dang, I want to make sure I'm at least keeping my name in the conversation. Not that I don't know how it's the combination of that and also playing a contender while you're a contender, and people kind of write your team off and forget about your team a little bit when it comes to the Mercury. I mean, they they've been having an incredible season, but at the same time, they're kind of, I mean, it's all talk about the Lynx and the Liberty.
Yeah, yeah, no question about it. So, yeah, the Merc have been kind of that team a little bit under the radar, but about to, I think, be firmly on the radar. They're certainly, I think, have proven with the talent they've had, because it was essentially a new team out there in Phoenix. So it takes time, and you had
Yeah.
the injuries to Copper, and Satu missed several games, so it takes time. But now I think maybe finally starting to gel. They're certainly the sleeper underneath the two clear
Mhm.
favorites with Minnesota and New York. I think to win it all and to win the championship here. So we're going with those as a best bet, and also if you can find it, I don't know if it's available at Bet Rivers, so it may not totally count. But the Angel Reese points rebounds is where I'd look Chicago and New York for. in addition to the Phoenix Las Vegas best bet. So what do you have? What's your best bet, Sarah?
Oh, mine's going to be the AT over 14.5 points. That's just the one that's calling my name today. I think that's the correct combination of happenings right now when it comes to who she is as a player, what she could accomplish for her own record books and for the league's record books when it comes to the double doubles, what she can accomplish in the short term when it comes to making like that name for herself in the MVP conversation, even if she doesn't end up winning it, and where her team is at, where seeding is kind of going to be everything for this team heading into the playoffs, and also the vibes right now around her. And I mean, Bonner's back and they are on a roll here and looking to make a statement against the Aces. I feel the Aces are still very much one of those teams where, all right, let me post up against Wilson. Let me kind of show you who I am. And people watch them a lot. I think that she's not going to, like, she might not score a ridiculous amount of points. I like the 14.5 because she might not score like a 30-point game or whatever, what have you. But I do think she's not going to embarrass herself tonight.
Yeah, no question about it. She is essentially like the point forward, if you will, that term for the Phoenix Mercury, because I don't think Phoenix really doesn't have your more traditional point guard
Mhm.
necessarily on this team. She essentially functions in that role.
Yeah, yeah. She's unbelievable. Just looking year after year, the consistency she's been able to have. It's pretty cool to see her go off in a new environment like this. I mean, she's deserved it. And it's fun to see the Mercury kind of explode like they have been. And we'll see what happens come the playoffs, which are less than a month away, people. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget we got all this NFL and college football, of course, starting this weekend, week
Mhm.
0, baseball playoffs, WNBA, but we got it all for you here on the Bet Rivers Network.
100%. And I wanted to ask before we leave here, were you eyeing the Lynx versus Fever at all tomorrow?
Ugh, yeah, I want to see what that number is going to
Yeah.
be. We did hear the news that it's essentially the groin injury that's still keeping her out and keeping her from really fully practicing. But Caitlin Clark in a workout tweaked the ankle a little bit in Phoenix about a week and a half ago. So yeah, no line as of yet. Nothing that I'm gonna Fever very shorthanded now, of
Mm.
course, without this is gonna be the first game without Sophie Cunningham. She got hurt in the first half against Connecticut on Sunday. Connecticut or Indiana with a miraculous comeback. Kelsey Mitchell goes off for 38, but they've Fever have had so many injuries. They've essentially now had 4 point guards: Caitlin, Sid Colson, who was the backup, Ari McDonald, who was originally a hardship contract player, and then they signed for the rest of the season. Now Sophie, who had kind of been a little bit of a half point guard. So yeah, tough for me to get with the Fever. We don't have a lineup, unfortunately, but with Minnesota, with an excellent backcourt, and Courtney Williams does a good job, and her studs buds mate Natasha Hedeman also off the bench. So yeah, tough for me, but it will be Minnesota on the back-to-back. Fever, by the way, have not played all week. They've essentially, had at least a half week off. They hadn't played since Sunday, so at least some rest for this team. So that's why I'd be a little gun shy laying Minnesota. But I'm certain Minnesota is going to be probably looking at 5. And we don't have any lines on the screen here, but I'm guessing they're going to be about 5.5 tomorrow against Indiana.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Look out for that, people. And please keep in mind the shorthandedness of the Fever because it really is getting to a point where you just feel for them and you hope that this week, yeah, did help them recharge a little bit headed into the playoffs. But still, that's where a team like this, there's so much uncertainty that, like, of course, you caution against for the most part betting on it until we see how this plays out. But at the same time, maybe for the team itself, from a non-betting standpoint, it's like, all right, here's we dig in and surprise some people. Kelsey Mitchell is still very much Kelsey Mitchell, and see if they can get some health before the playoffs. But that's going to be their main priority for the rest of the season here. And it's interesting when you think about betting the rest of the W season. Just kind of every team has to be. It's such an individual, contextual basis.
Yeah, Fever just kind of got to hang on, I think, a little
Mhm.
bit at the end of the season. Like we said yesterday, I think they're going to make the playoffs, but certainly the schedule. No games against Connecticut, no games against Dallas. Schedule not exactly what you would call permissible for the Fever, at least down the stretch.
Mhm. Yeah, so we'll see what's up with them, and we will be back very soon. Wes, thank you so much for joining me and giving me your best bets of the day. Thanks everybody for joining us, and let us know on social media on our next shows if you trail. Thanks, and if you like what you hear on our shows, like, subscribe, and sign up for our newsletter. Get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free again at bettingweeklystudios.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.